What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Sun Belt Syndicate, the special edition as we get closer and closer to Sun Belt baseball tournament style action. And we have a very, very special guest with us tonight. But before we get to that, as always, thank you to collegefootballdogs.com, hammering the football coverage out right now, heavy on the EA Sports video game stuff that's come through the wire. Presented down below. Yeah, I know, right? Presented down below by W Energy SB Syndicate. As always, at checkout gets you at least a 10% discount code. Sometimes they give out a little bit more, so be on the lookout for that. We are part of Dog TV for all other college and some baseball coverage throughout some of the other leagues as well. And we want to welcome the veteran ArtyCat of USMC lore and Texas State super fan, as you can see behind him there. A long-time commenter. Awesome to have him on the show because he's been with us literally since like the first episode of football. He's pretty much here every week, and he just eats this stuff up, and we eat up the fact that he interacts with us so much. So Arty, thanks not only for all of that, but also being on here tonight, and we actually finally get to again, not really meet you face to face in real life, but at least virtually for now.
Thank you all for having me on. I appreciate it. And yeah, I just remember the day I found the Sun Belt on TV, college football, and been a big fan ever since. It's great. You get to see all kinds of different perspectives from coaches, players, up and coming players, and just fans in general from around the conference. And I'm just a big fan of the Sun Belt Conference. I think we're on the right track as far as the conference goes with the footprint and everything in the future. And I'm just looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And had a great wind down to the regular baseball season this year. Came down to the wire for a couple teams.
Yep. So, yours specifically, and we'll certainly let you touch on that. But I love the fact you're repping the Southwest Texas stuff. Whenever I saw that was kind of before my time following Texas State, of course. But I do really appreciate the stuff that they've put out because I really like a lot of that stuff there that they've got. And you probably spent a pretty penny to get all that you're wearing right now.
Yeah, a little bit here and there. Don't collect as much as I used to, but yeah, I think they try to bring some of the Southwest stuff back just to try to bring back some of the older fan base from back in the day and kind of get them more involved. Of course, nothing does that like winning. So the more you can do that, the more you can get them back involved. And I think the football kind of program proved that this year. We got a lot more people back involved,
Absolutely.
So people are kind of fickle, but that's just the way sports are.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Speaking of fans, we've got one of the better fan bases in all of
there you go. The Southern Miss fans.
Southern Miss to the top right there by Buzzard Ball. So, hey, look, usually Arty is the very first comment saying, hey, nice to see you guys. Glad to be on the show. And
right. Hey.
We had to give that special shout out to somebody else tonight because he's literally on the show with us. Is again pretty cool. Marv, I know that you want to share your little travel from the last couple days here with us.
Yeah, I mean, you guys already know. So we went down to Atlanta to watch the Braves Padres series. My wife and oldest son are big Braves fan, and my youngest son is a Padres fan for whatever reason. I don't know. We have zero connections to the state of California or San Diego, but yeah.
Tatis.
Yeah, he is a Tatis fan. But yeah, drove down, split the distance on Thursday night. Actually stopped in Augusta, went to an Augusta Green Jacket minor league game on Thursday night, which they've got a pretty nice stadium down there. It was a good experience, and went to the Braves game Friday night, and then got in the stadium. Like I told you guys, got all the drinks and all the food you could ever want. They go through the starting lineups and then say, hey, there's weather in the area. We're going to be delayed, and end up canceling the game last night and move it to Monday night. So I'm sitting here watching what I should have been watching live last night on TV tonight.
Hey, you got good company though, buddy.
Yep. And we didn't cost you like $90 in food. So there you go.
Buddy, they will eat you alive for food and drinks in there.
Yeah.
Which is strange, right? Because the Falcons have gone against the grain there with Arthur Blank and Chick-fil-A and all of them work together for very reasonable prices right there in the same city, but they didn't seem to translate that to the ball field, huh?
Yeah, whoever owns the Braves is not on that same bandwagon, that's for sure. $13 hot dogs, $8 French fries, Yeah, it's crazy.
I was very impressed with Mercedes-Benz. That arena's top notch.
I haven't been there, but I saw it. It looks really nice.
Being the cheapo that I am, I was very impressed with free refills on all drinks inside the arena. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, parking was pretty expensive, but drinks were free, so it all evens out, right?
We all
must have
parking.
Yep, parking. I was just going to say the same thing.
I mean, not to go, I still can't believe they ran out of just beverage in general at the bowl game this year by halftime. I mean, I've never seen any venue do that before. And people started ordering food and alcohol from delivery companies into the stadium. I didn't know you could even do that, but they were.
Oh, wow.
I
didn't know you could.
12 packs, and people were just ordering off of that, having delivered.
That's insane. Do you think they weren't properly stocked, or did you guys as a collective group really drink that much? Like, is it a little of both or what?
It's a little of both, I believe. It was it's kind of known as a party school back in the day, for sure. But I'm not sure they were just quite prepared. There's going to be that many people actually show up and be that, yeah, I'm not really sure about that. But it was, I just never had that happen before. People were pretty shocked. I mean, soda did everything,
Oh, they ran out of soda and everything?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything. I mean, they had like a couple bottles of water here or there, maybe, if you're lucky. But yeah, they ran out of pretty much everything.
I feel like that is a rant we would go on for sure. That's a half-hour rant on this show. For sure.
that sounds like poor planning. I mean, you can't run out of stuff.
No.
Yeah, it kind of seems like back in session airing, but it's just it's SMU. You never know.
True, very, very true. All right, let's get into the baseball here.
All right.
Let me move this so we can see everybody better. Here we go. That's a little bit better of a setup there. So yeah, this is tournament special, guys. We know that it's starting Tuesday. We'll get into the matchups as they go. Actually started a little backwards today. I'm going to go through some of the scores first with you guys. Probably not a whole lot that's really shocking. A few surprises. Probably Arty's got his team listed as a surprise there, although it was obviously a tough matchup. But this first one here, neither team's making the tournament. We knew that going into this weekend. It wasn't possible for either to jump up there. I guess the only thing that shocked me at all in this is that ULM swept them. And I thought Arkansas State could probably take at least one game, but I don't know. Thoughts, guys, on that one? I mean, I know there's not a ton to continue talking about with, the season's ending.
Yeah, they just basically flip-flop positions from 2023 to 2024, basically. They just went from – Arkansas State went from 12 to last, and they just flipped it around this year. So, yeah.
They were who we thought they were.
Yep, they were.
Yeah.
Now,
we got a little excited to begin with, but not much.
Yeah, they jump out 9-0, Arkansas State to begin the season.
Yeah,
I'm with you, Dom. I would have thought that Arkansas State could have got a game, but sweep to end the year's never good. But
no,
two teams aren't going to make the tournament. That's I don't want to minimize it, but kind of irrelevant.
Right, exactly. I mean, I will say the last game there, the 7-6 game, was a walk-off hit. It wasn't in extras. It was just in 9, but the Warhawks did hit. I don't think it was even a home run or anything, but I think it just went deep into the outfield to score a run to go up 7-6 and end the game. So, I mean, Arkansas State was right there in the last one at the very least, even though it doesn't look like they were in the other two all that much. But, yeah, two teams who are going to be looked to really rebuild, continue to rebuild, like you said, Arty. I mean, these teams were already at the bottom last year. They just flipped spots this year. There's still a lot of work to be done for both programs. So neither one will move on to the tournament, but these two teams both will. And an interesting game or set of games to me here. Not the fact that South Alabama got one. That's not ultimately super surprising. The Cajuns had wrapped up first place by the time that happened. Not a ton to play for as far as I guess at that point you're playing for a seed in the national tournament. You're hoping to be playing yourself into a hosting kind of position. But 10-0. That second game there stands out to me. I mean,
yeah,
I just didn't see a 10-0 game coming, right? I mean, a hard-fought 6-5-1 to start with. If the Jags won 4-2 in the next one, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But 10-0 was a surprise to me in that.
Well, I had South Alabama as the biggest surprise, my most improved team for the year, pick. Last year they finished South Alabama number 11, and this year they were able to move up to number 9. And what really helped them out, they were able to improve, 14-16 in their conference record. So that help them a lot. But yeah, I had them down as the most improved team this year.
Yeah, you and the coaches, if you guys remember too, all three of you really, before we started the season, the coaches actually had South Alabama jumping up into the middle of the pack like they ended up. I think they had them a little bit higher as far as like predicted order of finish, but still,
right,
again, make it into the tournament, so it's an improvement. Seth, Marv, you guys got something on this one at all?
And a winning record for the year is an improvement for them, 31-24. So yeah,
True.
It's a big improvement from last year. They were only 23-31. So
yeah,
they made good strides this year.
Absolutely.
Are kind of irrelevant to what the series was, but I was sitting here looking at Raging Cajuns. Are we thinking there's a chance to host, or are we thinking we're going to have to win a tournament to have a strong shot?
Maybe make it to the final game. Once again, we can get into the RPI discussion. I know we'll probably show it here in a little while. I think, obviously, if they win, yes, they should host. I think if they get to the championship game, in my opinion, they've done enough. But once again, somebody gets paid big bucks to make those decisions, not us.
Yeah.
40-win team, I think they got a heck of a shot. Even like Marv said, even if they don't win the championship, if they win it, I don't know how you don't give them one, to be honest with you.
Right.
Because you and NCAA may not think this way. I think somewhat they do, though. Can they fill up the stadium, right? Is this a place that packs it out? Yes. The answer is categorically, yes. So there's not a hard thing about like, well, we could have them host, but they don't really, they have a big stadium. They don't usually sell out. No, it's not a concern. So yeah, I think if they get to 40 wins and they win the Sun Belt Championship, shoe in to be a host. But yeah, I think they could also be a host without winning it as well. Just have to have some things go their way.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, and they deserve it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we'll touch on it. 16-game win streak at one point this season. I don't know if anybody in the nation had one longer than that at any point. So,
yeah, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, did I get that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, five conference sweeps.
Whew.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I went through. I don't have a slide for this part, but I went through and covered all the streaks for tournament teams. Longest win streak, longest losing streak, and how many times they had back-to-back losses. I felt like back-to-back losses is a big deal here because obviously 2 losses, you're out. Except the play-in games, obviously one and done in that one. But anyway, we'll touch on that once we get into the tournament matchups. Before we do that, Coastal Carolina finally gets hot right here at the end. Again, you're playing a team that's down and out in Marshall. We knew they weren't making the postseason here, but they do sweep them. Is anybody, specifically Seth, thinking the tides have turned a little bit for the Chants before we get going into tournament time?
That's a sneaky series. We've been down on Coastal for the last month, and now we're still down on Coastal a little bit, but they're coming off a sweep that is a little surprising. So I think they're a little dangerous. I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a run. And then again, I wouldn't be surprised to see them, at least win one in the tournament. But
correct me if I'm wrong. They're in the play-in game. If they lose Tuesday, that's it. They're done, right?
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah. So I'm with you, Seth. I could see them making a run to the final, or I could see Tuesday them packing up and going back to Conway.
Yeah. And I think Marv hit on it last week. You kind of have to set up your pitching through the weekend for Tuesday, So it just kind of depends on what they look, maybe use your midweek guy on Tuesday.
I don't know if they played a midweek game.
They did. Remember Clemson? Clemson got
canceled. That's right. Got canceled. So, if I was a coach, which not at this level, obviously, but I would have pitched my Tuesday starter on Friday night, and I would pick my Friday starter for the first game because you're not going to, your Saturday and Sunday guy, if you pitch them in order, they're not pitching Tuesday. And I think if you pitch your Friday starter on Friday, you're only going to give him 4 days rest in the tournament. I don't think you do that. So, yeah, I would have pitched my Tuesday guy on Friday, save my Friday guy for the first day of the tournament, and hope that your Saturday and Sunday guy could be ready later in the week.
Yep. I agree.
You know, and
that was just a rough year for Coastal. Last year they were first place, 42 wins. This year, all the way
win a one-off game. I don't think they will lose, but obviously that anything can happen in those. So
yeah, it's baseball. They could beat anybody on any given day, but can you consistently do it? 3, 4, 5 games in a row?
Yeah, no doubt about it. This one, as a couple of us have on, was a little bit of a downer. Started hot. I mean, what a day for Banks Tully, former Sun Belt Syndicate guest who received the Sun Belt Syndicate bump like a week late, but that's okay. It still came in the end there. 3 home runs, 3 in one game. In hockey, as Artie knows, they call that a hat trick. I don't know what they call it in baseball, but
did he end up with 23, 24, something like that on the year?
He got 4 in the series. I think he ended up with 25 for the year. I think it was at 21 coming into it. I can tell you this. If I'm Georgia Southern's coach after that first game, I go to my pitching coach and I'm like, don't you throw that guy another pitch. You intentionally walk him every time he comes to bat. Do not throw him another pitch.
He'd probably wear one if it was me. But the kid for Georgia, what's crazy, he's on – there's a possibility he ends up with 40 through the tournament and everything. That's insane.
That's nuts.
That is insane. Why are people pitching to him too? What I don't understand.
Yeah,
I don't know. I would if I'm the NC2A, I'm having that guy pee in a cup before the tournament. I mean, you got Major League Baseball players that don't hit that.
Yeah,
in 60.
He's the Sosa McGuire all to himself over there. Is anybody really close to him? I mean, Banks might be one of the closest to him, but is anybody else touching 40 or close to?
I'm looking that up right now.
Okay. Artie, you got
let me ask y'all this right quick.
Yeah.
App State, 6th place last year or in 2023, 6th place this year, almost an identical record except for a tie. You could have been 1 game worse or 1 game better.
Mm-hmm.
I know y'all mentioned like this. No one expected App State to have a breakout year, but you're staying consistent. When you think with some of these teams now falling off, like Texas State, Coastal.
I think
it's a little early to tell because you still got the offseason, but maybe App State can start to put together a top 5 run here.
Yeah, I agree. I think we had Bryce Blevins on last week, Artie, and he spoke on Marshall, coming up through the ball bouncing one way or another. I think there's probably 5 or 6 teams right there in the middle. The ball bounces one way or another. That's 3 more wins on the year. At least you're, let's be honest, at least you're not Louisiana Monroe or Arkansas State. So like right there in the middle.
You're not trending in the wrong direction.
Yeah, you still.
Yeah, I think our program's actually headed in the right direction. I hate the transfer portal and how you kind of have to like reset your roster every single year. But then
that's the thing is you just never know what's going to happen between now and then next year.
No, we've benefited from it though. I mean, you look at Banks Tully transfer, St. Laurent transfer, but we won our first away series in like 5 years this year. Yeah. We won 3 series in a row, which I'm not sure if that's ever happened. I mean, I think we're on the right trajectory. So to answer your previous question though, so Condon from Georgia has 35. Then you got a guy from Morehead State at 31, and Banks Tully, number 10 in the nation, 25 homers.
Nice.
Yeah. You got 2 guys over 30, and then a bunch of dudes in the mid-20s.
Okay. Dang. Yeah, I did see going through, and I got some other statistics on conferences and how many 30-win teams and how many 40-win teams they all had. And I was surprised to see Morehead State up there with 30-plus wins because I just didn't know they were good baseball program. Maybe they are not historically, but they're definitely good this year. And I'm sure that guy's a large part of the reason why.
It helps when you got a guy that's hit 31 bombs.
Talking about this series, a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah.
A little bit strange timing as well, I think, because, I think we started, was it a rain out on Thursday?
No, you had a doubleheader on Thursday.
Doubleheader on Friday, and then an early start on no.
Yeah. Double Thursday.
Doubleheader on Thursday, early start on Friday, no game on Saturday, correct?
Yeah, 11 a.m. start on Friday for the rubber match, and that was a game it was a close game for most of it. I think Georgia Southern busted it open a little bit late, but Dominic's like we text. As an App fan, it sucks to lose to Georgia Southern at absolutely anything, whether it be football, baseball, field hockey, doesn't matter. Hate losing to those guys. Wish them nothing but the worst in the tournament.
Now, let's talk about. I mean, but they ended on a 2-game win streak, so this wasn't an alternating win thing, and then the last game was up for grabs. So, you know, I mean, I guess technically it was, but Georgia Southern wins the last 2 to win the series 2-1. So they're going in on a 2-game win streak after run rolling them in one, and coming out 4 runs on top in the last one. So they're kind of coming in a little bit strong when you're talking about a team that, again, this series could have greatly helped the fluctuation of the standings, honestly, because App could have finished all the way up in, I believe they could have jumped Troy had enough good things happen. But there it is. I mean, so Arty's talking about App State, being consistent. They could have even been higher in the standings, or Georgia Southern could have been higher if they would have swept this series, So we'll take a look at the standings here in a minute. But
I'm going to blame the tie against Arkansas State for everything.
Yeah, you got the only tie of the year there.
Real.
One game. You're 1 game behind them. So
that's true. But the tie in the way that it could have worked out might have actually favored them.
Yeah.
When it comes down to the same amount of wins, then you go to the losses, and they don't have as many losses, so they could have actually benefited from the tie. Obviously more from a win, but the tie didn't really hurt them, especially how they ended up finishing. But even if they were kind of tied up with another team, it would have essentially helped them in this case. All right. So speaking of Troy, we weren't, but they were up at the top. JMU really needed this to kind of stay up there in RPI, to stay up there in the standings, because they were part of that log jam there, and they got it. I mean, they won the series before Saturday's final even happened. Anyone shocked that Troy didn't put up more of a fight in this one?
Yeah, I am a little worried about Troy, honestly, going into the tournament. I had them as my tournament sleeper there. They didn't look that impressive against the Bobcats, and JMU is not a bad team, but I honestly expected Troy should have took 2 out of 1 on this. But JMU is not a bad team at all, obviously.
Nope.
So no, you really can't be surprised.
I thought Troy would have took 2 out of 3 from them. Not super surprised. I mean, JMU, they swept App. They've been high up there on RPI the entire season, but where was this played? Was this in
Alabama? Yep.
In
Troy.
Alabama? Yeah. That makes me a little bit more shocked that Troy didn't get 2 out of 3.
That's what was the most surprising.
In the heat and everything.
Yeah. Seth, what would be your thoughts?
Was Troy's seed already locked up on this?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then that is a little bit more surprising.
I don't know. They couldn't have jumped to number 1 or anything. Louisiana had that lock.
I think it was locked. I don't think they.
No, I think it. Yeah, you're right, Marv.
I don't think they could have jumped Southern Miss either. I think
Lafayette and Southern Miss had those on lock.
Then,
okay.
I think maybe the theory is if you're already locked up, like going back to Coastal, I think you already start budgeting your pitching a little bit through the weekend if you kind of already know what you're getting set up as, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does.
Yeah,
they might have gone in the bullpen or something. I didn't see the game in person, but they could have went, with some different guys for pitching and save some of their arms or whatnot.
Yeah, I will say maybe they couldn't have jumped up, but they could have gone down.
Yeah.
No, they by Saturday's game they knew that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Actually, let me refrain from that. They played that first game Thursday. They had a rain out Friday, and they had a double header on Saturday. So by then they did know. In the last 2 games they knew everything, because everybody else was pretty much completed at that point. So yeah, you guys are right. They probably knew what they could afford to do by the time that this game went.
I think with Georgia Southern being 4th, when Georgia Southern lost the first game to App, Troy only had to win a game.
Okay.
To stay 3rd.
Gotcha.
I could be incorrect on that, but I think that's the way it was.
That makes sense. Artie, do you want to take this one first, man?
And I mean, it hurts. I mean, they had it in their hands, to win or to get in or to lose, and that they just couldn't do it. It was just a rough year for the team. And really what it came down to is we just weren't hitting home runs like we used to. We went from 83 home runs last year to only 51 this year.
Jeez.
So they really did live and die off of the long ball, getting the bases loaded up and being able to hit it out. Statistically, the pitching wasn't worse than last year or any previous years. It's just when they gave it up, it's at the wrong time and get behind after that. And it's hard to dig yourself out of a hole, especially against anybody in the conference, especially against Southern Miss or somebody like this. And it was just a down year. So it's not what the fans expect here. Believe me, it's not what probably even the coaches or the players expect. But there's always next year. That's baseball. So,
that's baseball. That's the theme this year. That's baseball.
That's it. And Southern Miss is Southern Miss. We'll see what they can do in the tournament. They can kind of, I haven't been overly impressed with them all year, but then again, I'm never unimpressed with them. So, we'll see what happens in the tournament. They get, obviously, them and Lafayette will get the bye. That always helps.
Yep.
So, but what can you say about it? Texas State's, obviously, I got them down as the biggest disappointment of the year. You went to 10th place in the standings, but let's be honest, it's really number 11 because you're not in the tournament. So,
right.
Just to fall out of the top 5 like this from a team that's consistently up there in the top 5 and expectations, it's a hard blow.
Yeah, I had Texas State as a very likely or very possible tournament team before the season started. I thought they could have been one of the 4 or 5 that we had a chance to get in there. So I would agree with you. They'd be my number 1 on the list for disappointing team. But yeah, it is hard when you leave it up to that last game in Pete Taylor Park down there, where they don't lose often and they don't lose a lot in a row. So that first loss was.
And the other team, what was it? I think Georgia or Southern or somebody at Old Dominion. Who was it? They had to lose. I went and checked on that game. They were winning something like 16-4. So I was like, okay, it's all up to the Bobcat. They have to, pull this through, and they just couldn't do it.
Yeah, 2 opportunities. They were close games, respectable games. I mean, 6-3, 5-3. No blowouts in this one. So, they were. Both teams were fighting.
Yeah, they played close. I mean, at least it wasn't a run rule or something like that. But it still hurts, man, not to make the tournament. And just a real blow. But like I said, that's baseball, and you just got to move on. And hopefully, we'll get some good recruits here. I know they've been working on that. Coach Trout's good. I don't think anyone's like get rid of him or anything. Just something happened after that Lafayette game. We just never recovered from that sweep. You could just never get back on the road and just kept going in the ditch, get back on the road and back in the ditch again. So, again, baseball, you have to be consistent, especially in this conference.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
no doubt about it. Did you guys get to take in any of this one? I know you guys both had busy weekends, but I didn't know. I think I turned one on for a little bit. I think it was so late in the game by the time I got it on. I didn't really watch much of it because I think it was like the bottom of the 9th or something at one point. So I was like, I missed it. But yeah, I mean, Southern Miss up where I thought they'd be. Texas State not where I thought they'd be. I mean, that's kind of the simple answer to the question on that one, I guess. Unless you guys got anything else, we'll move on to the series that ended up being very important because of that last battle. It was ODU and Georgia State, which, interestingly enough, they lose the series they lose the series as well, 2-1 to ODU, but they actually jump into the tournament because of the tiebreaker, which we'll cover here in a minute. But anyway, I mean, look at that last score, 20-6, run ruled as they're going to back their way into the tournament. So I don't know.
And they wanted it more. You got to give them credit. They wanted it more. So kudos to them. Hey, another good addition for the Sun Belt ODU's been. So even in baseball here, so kudos to them. They wanted it more. What can you say?
Randy Kent is saying that Southern Miss had to come from behind both games, actually. So, Artie, you were probably aware of that, but I was not aware that they were behind you guys there.
Yeah, they did. But this year with the Bobcats, you just never even take that into consideration. To be ahead, it's going to matter much.
I love it. Artie's just straight to the point.
I mean, that's not going to make you rest easy in the dugout.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right, so the Bus Lot boys are in. All it takes is to get to announce that a new stadium is coming, and you perform it's not even that they performed all that much better, really. They had 2 close games, and then they got run ruled, but because of how they performed earlier in the season, they're in the tournament. So, anyone surprised by that outcome? I guess I don't think I am, but
no, good for ODU though.
Yeah,
good
biggest surprise is 20 runs. I mean, that's in 7 innings too. I mean, they were obviously seeing the ball very well.
Yeah, that feels like or sounds like that Duke App State game we were at, Marv.
That never happened.
No, I think Austin was talking about that. I think in his mind that Duke App State game's still going on right now.
Yeah, they just hit another home run.
Yeah, that 5th inning is still going on.
Yeah. Oh man, Randy says, "Hate to poke the Bearcats while they're down." Okay, I was going to say, did he do the Bearcats thing on purpose? And then he's correcting himself here. Sorry, Bobcats. Because the best spell. Got it. Yeah. Got it. I thought that was another little jab there. Kick them while they're down there, but not purposeful. Seems like. But anyway, so Marv, you're crowned our champion for this year. 1 game over 500. But
hey,
that's enough.
We'll take it.
That is enough.
What do I win?
You win not having to cover our costs to do.
Hey, does he get dubbies?
Yeah, I get a free thing at dubbies.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, where are we at on Yum Yum Gets Us Some?
Yeah. Our other sponsor, Danos, as Artie knows so well from the football season. I try and keep it to like one sponsor. At some point, we're going to have more than one. Once they start throwing money at us, then we'll put their commercials on here, everything,
Hey, my wife's
but anyway,
my wife's got Danos in the spice cabinet. Hint, Danos, throw us some cash. We're broke.
I'm working that one right now. I'm trying. Trust me. I think that's just a perfect match made in heaven. Like Danos seasoning, tailgating. I think it's too easy to not do. Anyways, back to this, Marv. You've got the 2 games or 2 series that you called perfectly, and then that other one you almost had if you just flip it. So
I stand by my picks.
There you go.
The one he got wrong, I would have took the same way. I took the sweep.
Sweep.
Yeah, sweep.
I took the sweep. Yeah, I called it the same way. But I had a lot of catching up to do. I think I made it a little more respectable towards the end. I got a little closer to Seth.
You took a sprint there towards the end there.
Yeah. Bad start though. Really bad start. I think I was like 1 or 2 wins for a while.
I was impressed with the kids' picks this year. That was impressive.
Yeah.
Really. Some of those kids got the future in Vegas odds making or something. Really good.
Don't let Mason near your sports betting apps, Marv.
Yeah,
I need to give him my phone and just like have at it, kid.
Actually, yeah, maybe you should let him have it. That's true.
As soon as it's my money, he probably starts making terrible picks and we lose.
Yeah.
There's
some guy knocking at your door 3 a.m.
Mason said you're good for it.
Yeah.
It's Monday. It's payday. Oh, man. All right. So, congrats, Marv, on that. Not easy to do. As we know, we grade pretty hard here. Don't just pick the winner. You pick the series.
Yeah.
Wins and losses, too. So, Artie, we got to get you involved on one of these.
Doesn't mean anything until you win it again next year.
Yeah.
True. Yep. It's very cyclical. We got to get Artie as a special guest picker, too, here in the future. I don't know if we want to pick for this tournament because they're so fast and they're like one-day turnarounds. Not series either. So maybe we'll just save that for regular season stuff. But hey, here are the standings as we see them. This one is corrected. As we've said many times, the Sun Belt website is not correct. They're not doing, for whatever reason, they're not doing the tiebreakers to show you what the seeds would be. They're only showing you the tiebreaker as if it's overall record, which maybe the NCAA leans heavier towards. I'm not sure. But for conference seeding, this one is going to be how you go. And this one's going to show you, again, it worked out really well when I did this graphic that I ran out of room after the first 2 columns, and the 4 on the most right are the ones that aren't going to be in the tournament. Unfortunately for Artie, as he sees his Bobcats sitting over there, even though they had that tied record with Georgia State, they lost the tiebreaker due to common matchups. So only one of them played Louisiana. Yeah. Already talked about that. So you have to throw that out. You can't use a team that or a matchup that both teams didn't play. So you had to move down to Southern Miss, which Georgia State beat 2-1. Texas State lost 1 or 2-1 to them. So that's the tiebreak. It really came down to that simple. The other tiebreak was between James Madison and Georgia Southern. That was a simple head-to-head matchup. JMU swept Georgia Southern, so they easily took that head-to-head in order to jump them in 4th place. But yeah, I mean, there's how the rest of it lays out. As you can see, we have, 8 30-win teams? Is that what I see there?
8 30-win teams and 3 35-plus win teams. Pretty. We've talked about this all year about how kind of Sun Belt, doesn't get the respect probably that it deserves for baseball because, we get the P5 moniker the G5 moniker for football. But, man, I think you take any middle of the pack Sun Belt team and throw them into any conference, and they could be competitive in any series. And I don't think you can say that about a lot of conferences. So it was a fun year. The cream kind of rose to the top there at the end. But once again, like, hell, Coastal. Put Coastal in the ACC. I think they'd be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we saw them match up with a couple people early on. Just to touch on it, you talked about 30-win teams. I went through every conference last night. I'm not going to go through all of them. I didn't put a graphic together through this, but did want to mention it. So the Sun Belt is 4th overall with 8 30-win teams. The only conferences above them, not shockingly, ACC, the SEC, and the Big 12 actually has 9, which last year I thought the Big 12 and the Sun Belt were pretty on par with kind of like overall standings, teams, the quality of teams. And they still are close because even though they had 9 30-win teams, they had no 40-win teams. And again, Sun Belt has Raging Cajuns up there with 40 wins, exactly 40 wins. But that is also tied for 4th. So only 4 conferences had a 40-win team or more. Obviously, ACC and SEC were the only ones. I'm sorry, actually, somehow Conference USA only has 4 30-win teams, but 2 of them have won 40-plus games.
Wow.
What was that, ECU and Tulane?
No, they're not in Conference USA. They're in American.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They're in the American. I can check that while we look there because it was surprising. I'm trying to think now who it was before it pops up. That
Conference USA.
Yeah. Conference USA is irrelevant.
One's going to trick you because
it is. I just saw the day that they added.
One's going to trick you.
Southeast Missouri State or somebody into the conference.
Missouri State
last week or something. Like I never.
Yeah.
This needs to stop. Junior Conference USA.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. Stop bringing in these teams. So La Tech 40-win team. That's not surprising. I just kind of forgot that that's where they're at, to be honest with you. But the one that's surprising. Yeah, this one that's surprising is Dallas Baptist because they're not in there for football or other sports. So Dallas Baptist is in this Conference USA for baseball.
Yeah,
I would not have known what conference they were in off the top of my head, to be honest. I knew they were a good team. I just did not know they were in Conference USA.
Do you know what transfer Dallas Baptist got in basketball this year? I won't say it on the air, but he was from App.
Oh, was it your boy?
Yeah, it was my boy.
Oh, Savion Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Good for them.
Favorite basketball player.
Good for them.
Oh,
anyways,
yes.
Sorry.
But yeah, but again, the 30-win team thing was impressive to me. I mean, being 4th in the country of all conferences. Now, I will say, some conferences performed well without having the numbers. I mean, the Sun Belt is 14 teams. There's conferences like the A-Sun who don't have as many teams, who still had 2 30-win teams, just as an example. There's a few of those types of conferences that have a lot less teams that still had a good number of 30-win teams. So percentage-wise, they did pretty well. But you're talking about the quality all the way through here. And like Marv was saying, you put some of these teams in another conference, and they're still going to perform pretty well. They're not going to get blown out of the water. I mean, I literally in person saw Coastal go to UNC and end their home win streak that was from last season. So yeah, I mean, they're not intimidated to go into these other places and play. Already seen it down there in Texas, as they match up a lot with some of the bigger programs within their own state, which Texas has like 32 teams for baseball, I'm sure.
And I absolutely think we'll probably take over the Big 12. Let's be honest, once the Big 12 loses Texas and Oklahoma in baseball, I fully expect the Sun Belt to exceed the Big 12 in baseball. I mean, they'll have a few teams here or there, but they're not anywhere near consistent as the Sun Belt teams year after year. So
that's a great point. And you're also
that's a comment. They're huffing ether still. They still think they're very relevant. But them in the ACC. So I fully expect us to be better than the Big 12 by leaps and bounds next year. Like I said, they'll be losing their two heavy hitters.
That's a good point. Yep. And not Big 12, Pac-12 also will be
losing a lot of their. Yeah, they'll be losing a lot of their. Again, the Mountain West has here or there some pretty good teams out there, and some of the smaller conferences out west produce some pretty good baseball teams around. But I think the Sun Belt is just really one of the better baseball conferences in the country. I think we should need a little bit more respect than we would get. But I think as long as we keep performing, just a few more years here, we're going to keep getting that respect, and we'll finally, I think, break through. Especially with this new realignment coming through, we'll see what happens with all that. But unfortunately, it will affect baseball here or there somewhat.
Right. I do think that they need to look at that because I don't think all the P5 and G5 monikers fit like all the way across for all sports. And like you said, Artie, due to the realignment, this conference has become a lot stronger in baseball. It wasn't necessarily always this great, right? I mean, Southern Miss was a massive addition as far as baseball is concerned.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, and JMU's come in and done pretty well right away. ODU's had some good seasons. In fact, ODU had a better overall season last year as far as the overall record. I think their conference record's real close to what it was last year, but their overall record was like 35 wins. But they just in the conference couldn't get it done. So, I mean, ODU's done pretty well too. And to mention that they'll be in a new ballpark within a year or two as well. So does their recruiting pick up?
Rising tide raises all the ships. So you bring in better competition that forces you to get better, whether you want to or not. For the most of the teams that can. ULM is. I love ULM. They're one of the most loyal teams to the Sun Belt. You can say, well, that's because they can't ever leave or they couldn't, but they've always held in there. They've always been in the conference. So I always got a little soft spot for them. What kills some of these low is just the budget. They have a low athletic budget, and it's hard to compete on an $11 million athletic budget. I think App State's, they just released some of the things this week. I think App State's up at the top around 40 mil. When we started getting around 10 mil or something to try to run a Division I sporting program, it's going to be a little difficult for them.
I believe.
They've had success. You got to remember 2005 they were. I mean, it's a while ago, but they have done it.
Yeah, I believe they're still the lowest funded program in the country as far as a D1 program. So. Yeah. That's got to be tough. And they're also not only are they not in a major market, they're really nowhere close to anything major market.
It's pretty far out in the middle of nowhere.
They can't get some more of that Duck Dynasty money.
I think that's La Tech, isn't it?
No, it's Monroe.
That's Monroe. Yeah, I mean those damn duck balls are $60 a piece. Come on now.
Are they really?
I thought the Duck Dynasty played for La Tech.
No, you would be surprised how much money you can spend on freaking duck calls. Those Commanders are kind of like they're the Walmart version, if you will. I mean, kind of like tried and true, steady. They're great, but they're like $60 a piece, man. They got some money. They need to cough that up. Plus, they had the TV show. They made a ton of money off of that crap.
Yeah, Duck Dynasty Stadium. There you go. Got a ring to it.
Yeah.
Actually would be a pretty cool name, I think.
You change the name from the Warhawks to the War Ducks, and you gotta dive right into it.
War Ducks and matchup. What'd you say?
What's the bracket look like?
Yeah, you have the War Ducks match up with the Oregon Ducks, and you got a rivalry built in right there. Well, real quick before we get to the bracket, so a final look at the RPI, and notice who has the highest RPI. It's actually Southern Miss there with 34, sitting at 34. Yep. But we got a couple teams all pretty close there. Look where Coastal's at, down in 7th place in the conference, but 35th RPI in the country. Cajuns one behind them at 36. And then you've got, again, a sneaky team there, James Madison, with a 44 RPI. So everybody over there on the right is a little bit lower, and then App State on the left is kind of with those teams, really, as far as numbers are concerned, sitting down there at 76.
Yeah.
And
the conference has five teams in the top 55 in RPI in the conference going into the tournament. So 5 teams in the tournament are in the top 55 of RPI, and the 5 remaining teams are on the top 105 in RPI. So pretty competitive teams. I mean, all the way through. So it should be a good tournament.
Yeah.
I still don't understand the number 1 team in the conference doesn't have the number 1 RPI, but hey, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if there were one game difference, if there were one game difference, I could see like, strength of schedule in a play there. But go back to the standings there for a minute. I mean, they're only 3 games off overall, but I don't know.
So I don't know. I'm looking at the RPI. So 211. There's a 305 Division I baseball team. So Arkansas State's pretty far down there. Oh, I'm looking at some of these records. This is speaking of how stupid RPI is. All right, Maryland Eastern Shore, 0-48 on the season.
I saw that one.
They do not have the lowest RPI. Explain that.
Really?
To me, please. They do not. They do not have
the 0 wins.
I want you to explain that to me. RPI data goes out the window for me now. That's all credibility gone.
And how far? I mean, are they just like one up from the bottom, or are they like a few?
It doesn't matter. They didn't win a game, and they're not the lowest.
Well, no, I agree with you, but I just didn't know how far from the bottom.
They are 304 out of 305, but the team that's 305 won 9 games.
9 games, and they're oh my goodness. That's I agree with you. That's ridiculous.
0-48.
They must have been playing the Yankees or something.
Ooh. Yeah. I don't know.
When I saw that team, that's when I was going through the conference records. I'm scrolling and I'm like, wait, that team didn't win any games. I was like, oh no, that's just their conference losses. Nope. And then I was like, oh no, they didn't win any at all whatsoever. And I was like, that's not easy. So yeah. Anyway, RPI is what it is. NCAA, as we've been told, leans on it heavily. So expect James Madison to have a chance to get in here with any kind of respectable showing in the conference, as far as I'm concerned, because of what we know. Speaking of them, they match up in that top right corner of this bracket in their first game versus Georgia Southern. And I have these broken down specifically in a minute, so we'll just look at this and then move on to matchup by matchup. App State on the other side, the 6-3 matchup against Troy. And then we know Southern Miss and the Cajuns will await the bottom teams, the bottom matchups, as they have a one-off play-in. I'm calling it a play-in game. I don't know if that's technically what they're calling it, but obviously it's one and done. You win or you go home. So it's simple. The Cajuns would get the lowest remaining seed. So technically, they could play a number of different teams there because it depends on how some of those results go. But if Georgia State wins, that's who they get. And then Southern Miss would get whoever comes out of the other side. So kind of simple there. But now we'll jump over into the matchups specifically, and we're going to go in order of how the games are going to be played. So down below under the graphics, you're going to see the seeds there with the teams. Obviously, all the games are in Montgomery. But then it's going to tell you the day and a time. So, and all these games are being broadcast on ESPN Plus, besides, I believe, the championship setup. So here's the first one, fellas. Anybody want to start us off with Georgia State versus Coastal Carolina?
Beach chickens.
Coastal.
Unfortunately, I think Coastal's got enough to get through this first round elimination here and bounce in. Okay. I just don't see Georgia with enough pitching really to be able to slow Coastal down enough.
Yeah,
did they play each other this year?
Yeah, Georgia State and Coastal. I do believe they did.
I want to say they did.
Let me pull that up. I'm going to pull it up right now. Yes, they did, and Coastal won 2-1.
Okay.
So they do have that on their side, and that was recent. That was just the week before last. So just before the Marshall matchup, that's when they played. Recency, is that in the head of the Panther players as they go down there to Montgomery to try and win a one-off game against them? And if it is it a good or a bad thing, right? We couldn't beat these guys, or is it we were damn close and we stand a good chance to just beat them in a one-off? Because they did it once. They beat them 10-9 in Conway as well. And obviously this will be a neutral site game. To touch on some of the statistics I was looking at before we get into further things, Georgia State, longest win streak of the season, 6 wins. They strung together 6 wins. They lost 5 straight at one point, but they lost back-to-back 11 times, which is far and away the conference's largest back-to-back losing percentage, I guess, if you want to say it that way. So do I think they can win this one? I do think they could. I might lean towards Coastal as well, but this one is really literally a coin toss for me. But do I see them going far in this tournament? No. If Georgia State were to win, there are too many back-to-back losses, not enough consistency for me to say that they're going to make any kind of tournament run, where I do think Coastal, with a 14-game win streak at one point in time this season, is the type of team that if they get hot, they could go on a run and continue on further. So Coastal has lost back-to-back games 6 times this season. So, it has happened. But again, 14-game win streak. They did have an 8-game losing streak, which is the longest of all the teams in the tournament by a large margin. Georgia State was the second longest losing streak, like I said, with 5 in a row. So that's why, to me, there's not enough statistical data that makes me lean heavily one way or another. As we know, the 10 through 4 was like close all season long, right? So I think that goes to show why it is that way again here right now. All right, the 8-9 matchup, ODU versus South Alabama. Artie, this one's Tuesday night, as that other one was a little bit of a mid-afternoon game. Who
hey guys,
do you think you take this one?
I have some prior commitments. I need to hop off, but I just want to leave it in good hands. Artie, it was nice meeting you.
You too, Seth. Be careful. Thank you for everything.
I need to hop off. I will talk to you guys later.
See you, brother.
See you
guys.
Thanks, bud. All right, Artie, as you take your explanation on what we're going to see here, I'm going to move this stage around so we get you up on top of
I
that.
actually have South Alabama, I think, is going to beat ODU in this one game. Just something about South Alabama this year. I just like eyeball test. I just like the team. I don't know why. I think even though ODU's been playing really well, obviously coming in here, I'm just going to go with Jaguars.
Okay. Marv, you have thoughts on this one?
I wish I had a coin in my pocket because I would flip it. If it landed on heads, I would take South Alabama. I can't pick it.
Yeah, I'll give you some stats, and then that might help, or it honestly might make it just as hard because these two teams are very, very similar.
Yeah,
so
and the 9 and 8 seeds are just right there with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And even when I did this breakdown to see if I could get something that separates these two, it doesn't really help too much. So South Alabama strung together 6 wins at one point in time this season for their longest win streak, 4 losses, longest losing streak, lost back-to-back games 6 times. ODU, only a 4-game win streak, so not a lot of stuff strung together. So as far as a tournament run, not likely, I don't think. But they only lost 3 games in a row at one point this year. They did lose back-to-back games 7 times. So
did they play each other in a series this year?
Good question. Let me pull that up.
Let's see. Old Dominion won 15 conference games, and South Alabama won 14. So, I mean, they're almost 29 wins and then 31. So they're just almost identical in the statistical area.
ODU did beat them in a series 2-1.
Taking ODU, then. There it is. There's more to make me feel any type of way. ODU.
Yeah, I'm looking at the scores too. So they won the first 2 games, 8-2, 8-3, lost the last one 5-3. And to note, that was done at ODU's home field. So a neutral site. But yeah, I mean, to me, the last one was a little bit of a coin toss, but I probably lean towards Coastal because of what I've seen out of them for longer durations of time this year, as far as like win streaks and everything is concerned. This one is so close. This one is quite literally a coin toss for me. I'll say South Alabama because it's down there closer to home. They don't have to travel as far. They're more used to the humidity. But I mean, that's a reach, right? I mean, that's what everyone can argue when like Big Ten teams come down to start the seasons and everything too. So does that matter much? I don't know. But if you got to go with a coin toss, then maybe those little things do add up. So I'll go with the Jags because of that. But yeah, like you guys said, 8-9 matchup. It's close for a reason. So here's one that I know Marv will have some kind of an opinion on. So we'll start with you on this one. The 6-3 matchup, right there in the backyard of Troy. App State is going to go down there and try and win a early game. So that time down there is not a nighttime start. That is a 10 a.m., 9 Central start time in the morning there. So I don't know if that favors either team, but I don't know.
So I'm going to be a homer. I'm going to take App. Troy's coming off a series loss, just like App is. Good news is App got to pitch both their Friday and Saturday guy on Thursday. So on a Wednesday, they'll have 6 days rest. We'll have either one of those guys at our disposal. Both of our Friday and Saturday guys have been throwing really well lately. If we keep the bats hot, maybe Mr. Tolley sends one over the fence early on. I think our series with Troy was fairly close, if I can recall correctly. I know we got one off of them.
Yeah, I'll look that up while you talk.
I'm going App. Wouldn't be surprised if Troy, 10-run rules, but I'm going App.
I'm gonna have to take go against you on this one, Marvin. Take Troy. I just think, like I said, I had them picked early in the year as my sleeper team. Just a good overall team.
They are.
So, yeah, like you said, they came out. They had a losing skid here at the end. I don't know what's kind of happened, but I expect them to get back on track here. It'd almost be hopefully like a little bit of a home field advantage for them as well. It should be.
Yeah, they went.
Sure, there'll be a lot of Troy fans traveling up to Montgomery.
Yeah, that's definitely true. They went 2-6 down the stretch. But just above that 2-6 is when they had their longest.
In that, I think.
Yeah. So just below that 2-6 stretch is when they strung together 8 wins in a row. So you're nitpicking when you say that. You could divide that 2-6 record up and add a couple of those wins before that, and make the numbers look how you want, right? Yeah. But that is there, and the Troy Trojans did beat App in Boone 17-2 and 13-5. The loss came 11-1. So App bats can get hot; they can beat them. As we know, this is a one-off thing. This isn't a series. However, these two teams luckily do have the ability to lose one and not leave the tournament. So that's what both of these teams here have on their side.
Even with that 6-game losing skid, Troy still won 35 games this year.
Yeah.
So, you can't – I mean, it's just – yeah, and 17 conference games is nothing to sneeze at either. So, yeah, I just really kind of just don't – if App can get some bat swinging, they might have a shot. But they're really going to have to swing away, so to speak.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the great part about the tournament is you really have nothing to lose. So, you can let the kids, get after it a little more and be a little more aggressive in certain situations. And, I think because you have nothing to lose, just win or go home.
I think for a team like App, for us, it's win the conference tournament, and that's the only way that you have to get into a regional.
Yeah, Troy, hungry for that.
Yeah, we're Troy, assuming something doesn't go really wrong for them, you would think that they're going to make a regional. So maybe we play free. They have a little bit of pressure on them. I don't know.
Come out, play. Have that edge on you.
Yeah, they 10 run ruled us. We 10 run ruled them. I don't know.
Get the guys pumped up like we can beat this team. We've done it before.
Yeah.
They've come out with a 6-game skid. Anything can happen.
Yeah,
that's what makes the tournament so fun. Sometimes you're like, oh, it's so unfair. Like you just lost one game and we're out. But that's the same way for everybody.
Oh yeah,
that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, and they didn't lose 6 in a row. Sorry, they were 2-6 as far as like a record in their last 8. They only lost 3 in a row twice though. So again, they down the stretch here, they do have the propensity to string a couple losses together, which is not good in a double elimination tournament setup. But like you said too, and like we covered, they won the 8 games in a row before that. So very capable of doing either. But we got to see what Troy looks like. And until I don't feel confident in either team winning, to be honest with you. I know obviously one's going to, but as far as like, if I were to put money down or say someone's guaranteed to win, this would still be a tough matchup too. And again, we said it before, we'll say it again. This conference being jammed up in the middle like that is why we're seeing this. It's not like there's a lot of teams that were lucky to make the tournament. I mean,
they're all just so
State
close.
Probably deserved it as far as their record was concerned, right? I mean, like you could make the argument that the tiebreaker procedure is different and they may get in if they do the overall record versus the head-to-head against, like opponents type of thing. So the argument could be made, I guess, is what I'm saying. I will, just for pick's sake, I'm going to go with Troy here. I don't want to, obviously, with what I'm wearing, but here's why I'm going to go with them. Because it is double elimination, App's not out with a loss. But they've set the precedent. They've beat App twice. They're playing kind of close to home. Like Artie said, they're going to have the stands packed for this one, as even if App fans travel, a Wednesday at 10 Eastern time is not easy for most people to get to, besides maybe some of the parents. And even some of them are going to have a hard time doing that. So because of that factor, big time, I'm going to say it's going to be hard for App to go in there and win. It'll be interesting to see where they'd end up and who they'd end up playing after a loss. But maybe hopefully I'm wrong, but I'm going to take like the smart choice here, I guess. When you're
did App not end Troy's season in Montgomery last year?
It's a good point. They did.
Just saying.
They did do that.
Looking for a repeat though.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we can't end their season in this first game, but we can put them close to ending their season.
Get them in the loser bracket.
Yeah.
So the next game, weirdly enough, at this point, because there's another game where you already know the matchup, but for some reason they have the next game scheduled as a matchup you don't currently know. So that will be known after Tuesday night, of course.
So they'll get the highest seed out of 7 through 10, correct?
Yeah,
correct.
Right.
So Southern Miss versus Coastal.
Yeah, the only team I can really see out of that bunch giving Southern Miss any real trouble might be Coastal.
Yeah.
I don't see Georgia Southern, Old Dominion, or the Jags. Going up against Southern, So if anybody, maybe Coastal.
Yeah,
give them a little trouble.
I don't think Coastal and Southern Miss matched up. Did they? No, they did. Oh yeah, they did. Down in Hattiesburg. Okay, and Southern Miss swept them.
Ooh. Oh.
So there's a precedent, and 7-2.
I got that here on the sweep list. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't notice it.
Yeah, the last one that they won. So the two games, the first 2 games were not close. 7-2, 7-3. Well, I mean, you say that, you're just looking at the score. But the last game was very close. It was a early call due to travel because it was a 6-5-7 inning game. So obviously that's not a run rule. That must have been one of those late Sunday afternoon games that they called early.
Weather.
So until we know this matchup, I'm not really going to give a prediction, but I think I'm kind of like you guys. I'm favoring the Golden Eagles to move on almost no matter who it is. If we're saying that Coastal's probably the best team that they could match up against, and they've already swept them, we'll see. But that's a hard one to say. But that is a 1:30 Eastern, 12:30 Central time start there. Okay, so this one's a little confusing, but I felt when you have a ranked team, you got to show that as well. So the Cajuns are the number 1 team in this tournament, but they are ranked currently 21st in the nation. Obviously, tomorrow morning that will probably change. But again, we don't know their current matchup. But if Coastal were to win, then we know that the matchup would pit the Cajuns versus either ODU or South Alabama. But if Georgia State wins, that's the shoe-in to play the Cajuns. And I don't know. The Cajuns can't possibly play Coastal is essentially what happens here. So with that being said, just like Southern Miss matchup, I'm saying the Cajuns are going to beat no matter who they play in this game. I don't know about you guys.
I agree.
Yeah, I got Lafayette beating whoever comes our way in this one right here.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any much question about that. And what a great year for them. That's all you can say.
Yeah, I was missing Gary's comments here while we were on Southern Miss. So I'll throw those up. We got another Southern Miss to the top, and he's bringing out the broom. I guess when we were talking about the sweep of Coastal. So sorry Gary, I missed those live, but wanted to get you on there. I mean Southern Miss could bring out the broom again for a couple games in this one too, but Southern Miss did win 8 games in a row, losing only 2 in a row at any time this season. But they only suffered back-to-back losses 3 times. So again, Southern Miss is going to be a favorite in this tournament because of those types of statistics. And even better with the team we're looking at now is the Cajuns strung together 16 wins in a row. They lost only 3 in a row at any one point in time and only suffered back-to-back losses 4 times. So you're looking at
23 conference wins.
Yeah. Very, very consistent winning teams here. So there's a reason they're 1-2, right? And this was, I don't know. If you guys remember correctly, I mean, Southern Miss, I want to say they thought maybe that this was going to be a little bit of a down year after losing their longtime head coach and probably, college baseball Hall of Famer. A down year is still second in the conference, so that's pretty impressive for Southern Miss to pull off. And then the Cajuns, kind of, I guess they won this tournament last year to get into the NCAAs. They probably had to win it to get into the NCAAs. And then they're coming in hot and the number 1 team this year. So, I mean, they're looking pretty good. And then Ed Harold saying Southern Miss will travel well to Montgomery. Yeah, I think quite a few of the top-ranked schools there. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Dominic. I was going to say there's quite a few schools within traveling range of Montgomery. It looks like, South Alabama probably, Southern Miss.
Yeah.
Definitely Troy.
Yeah.
Yep. No doubt about it. And it'll be interesting to see if some of those East teams like Georgia Southern, Georgia State bring a good number of fans. I would assume, that's true. And I would assume any team that's playing on Tuesday, it's going to be rough because that's going to be a pretty quick turnaround because you're not guaranteed to go anywhere. So it'll be interesting to see how many of those 4 teams bring a good amount of fans, although we know Coastal will do so.
Yes.
Because they'll probably bank on winning Tuesday. If you know that fan base, they expect a lot, right? You don't win a national championship and then expect to lose when you're going into a tournament. All right, so the 4-5 matchup, the last one that we know for sure here is the nightcap. I mean, this one, it says 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, but with the way some of these games go, it might even be a later start than that by the time we get to this. We've seen it with basketball, and we've seen it in this tournament specifically just last year and probably previous years as well. But you've got 2 teams who faced off in football the last 2 years, in basketball the past 2 years, and now they're facing off in baseball. Well, we talked about this earlier, though. James Madison swept Georgia Southern earlier this year. Does anybody think there's a chance for this one to flip in tournament action?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to take actually JMU in this one. Just, I don't know why. I got a feeling that they'll get the best of Georgia Southern here. No particular reason or anything.
Okay.
Again, almost identical teams, like the same, both with 17 conference wins.
Dom, you said JMU swept Southern this year?
That's correct. This is a 4-5 matchup. This was 2 teams with the exact same conference record who came down to the tie-breaking procedure, which was the head-to-head matchup.
Yeah, well, even if Southern would have took 1 game from them, it still would have been the 4-5 matchup, just the other way.
Right.
I'm gonna take Southern, and I think this is obviously the early game of the tournament, the best early game of the tournament by far. I'm gonna go with Southern. I don't know why. I hate to say it, but that's my pick.
Yeah, I may lean that way because, like we've said, JMU has this great RPI, but they don't. There's nothing that blows me away about. I'm not saying they're a bad team. They're very capable of winning. They've won all season long, right? They swept App State. They've swept Georgia Southern, so they've got that on their side. At some point in time, they've strung together 8 wins. They only lost 4 in a row, and they lost back-to-back games 7 times, which was getting up there in the back-to-back number of losses. But Georgia Southern strung together 6 wins at one point in time, the exact same 4-loss streak as JMU had. But Georgia Southern has lost back-to-back games 9 times, which is the second most out of all conference tournament teams. So not going to bode well for a double elimination tournament on your side there. But do I think they can win a one-off game against a team who's done nothing but beat them so far this year?
Yeah,
I think they could. Well, it's kind of one of those things, like at some point the tide turns the other direction. A neutral site game might just be what they need to do so.
You know what they say, it's always hard, football, it's hard to beat a team twice. In baseball, it's got to be hard to beat a team 4 times, right?
That's what I'm thinking too. Yeah, and JMU's good with that small ball type stuff.
That's why I always. That's why I'm kind of picking him in this. Like I always call a worker day team. I don't mean that in a bad way, but just they go out and they do what they need to do to win. That's play small ball or whatever it is. That they're fine with that. So,
yeah, I think. Whoops! Hit the wrong button there. Oh no, I didn't. That was it. But let me reposition ourselves. Yeah, so I just confused myself there. So, but this is a good question here. We've got Blake jumping in. Any comments on the Montgomery ballpark, hitters field or defensive? Who has the upper hand? So, So Austin talked about this a little bit. He liked the ballpark for a hitter, right?
Yeah, I think he said it was a hitter's park.
Okay. I feel like that's going to bode well for those teams like App, who have him and Tully on their team. I don't know. I'm trying to remember specifics from last year about like seeing a lot of home runs. I don't know if I saw a ton of home runs in the tournament, but I do know they have a pretty monster wall in the outfield. I feel like that got hit to a lot. I don't know if anybody else is remembering that. I feel like I saw a lot of stuff off the wall last year.
Remember, it's by the river. That's all I kind of remember about it. Riverwalk.
Yeah,
isn't that what it's called, or something like that?
Yeah, the home of the Montgomery Flying Biscuits or something like that. I think
Biscuits. Yeah.
Cool name. I've heard that's not a bad stadium, but I've heard that there are certainly better ones out there. So I don't know as far as like comfortability. And I know Marv and I had talked seriously about trying to make it work to get down there this year, but I'm now in the middle of a move. Marv just got back from a hellacious travel day down there in Atlanta. And obviously he's got, kids ball still going on. So it's tough, but
I don't think anyone's announced yet where the 2025 tournament's going to be. So,
okay.
Yeah, with the Sun Belt, you never know. Sometimes they pick some odd spots. Sometimes
I would love for it to be more centrally located.
Yeah.
Well, we had
they pick a state and not even a school in, like Florida, for some reason.
Basketball. The Florida one is weird. I mean, Pensacola is not a bad destination overall, but apparently, like around the arena, it's not like a ton going on. I've seen
come to San Antonio, Sun Belt.
That would be cool. I mean, it wouldn't be easy.
That stinks for all the East Coast teams.
It's a long drive. It is, but it's a great destination spot. You can always make a vacation out of it or something.
Yeah,
Atlanta wouldn't be terrible if there was. Super easy to get to. I feel like it's somewhat central.
At least it's not always like Atlanta, but New Orleans is always kind of getting a little old in the tooth for everything. Like, what's going to be held in New Orleans, okay, but
yeah.
I wouldn't even be opposed to having like some traveling stuff, just random school hosting it here or there.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be a huge stadium for the championship game anyway.
Yeah, no, it definitely doesn't. I've seen Biloxi thrown out, and Biloxi apparently has a pretty nice minor league ballpark. I believe Southern Miss, if Ed's still with us, he's got another comment saying Southern Miss has been banging the long ball recently. And I believe Southern Miss actually played there in Biloxi. I think they played Ole Miss or Mississippi State, one of the two, earlier in the season as a neutral site game there. So maybe somebody else can chime in about how nice of a stadium is situated there in Biloxi. Obviously, Biloxi's got lots of casinos, nice places to stay. So definitely, a good amount to do. Kind of still centrally located, I guess. No, he said nope. It was Pearl, so they did not play there in Biloxi.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't think Trojan Joe had very nice things to say about Biloxi, but that could have been his bias.
Well, I think it was a lot to do with his bias. Yeah, I think part of that's the persona there, right? Like he's going to tell you he hates it because he's a Troy guy and an Alabama guy, but he doesn't probably really. Because Southern Miss hosted the Conference USA. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to a conference member hosting the tournament. I don't think that would be. You would at least pack out the house for a couple games.
Yeah.
But I could see that people don't like that, right? But
I was just thinking we're the number one seed in the tournament with home field advantage. But if it was close down to the end with travel arrangements and everything, that's just not going to work.
Got you. Yeah. Okay. So Megan is saying Southern Miss did play there. They lost to Nicholls State. So it wasn't Ole Miss or Mississippi State. I was misremembering. So that's maybe where the Pearl came in. But they did play there in Biloxi then. So yeah, I mean, Megan, if you're going to let us know if you went to the game, like what kind of stadium they've got there. I've heard good things from what I've read online. I'd like to see more stadiums. Marv and I have been to the local Durham Bulls, which is one of the top-notch minor league ballparks that I've been to, and I haven't been to a ton of them, but I've been to a few. Artie, you've been to a number of minor league parks, haven't you?
Yeah, they have several. Like San Antonio's got a couple of pretty nice ballpark. The Round Rock Express up there in Round up in Austin have a really nice field. And believe it or not, the Corpus Christi Hooks have a really nice field. Beautiful backdrop of the bay and the bridge and everything back there. And the campus there, Corpus Christi campus, is really nice. It's on a little island out there, so that's really pretty. But yeah, there's definitely some nice spots for minor league stadiums. Are actually some of the prettier ones. Actually, I like some of those a lot better than the major league ones these days.
Yeah,
they're just like more intimate, not so giant and cavernous, and just better views all around and just funner to watch in. To be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I'd agree from my times at minor league, but it's just you want to stick around more often. Like you can go get something kind of quick. You can go to the bathroom kind of quickly, and be back to your seat pretty comfortable. Like these major league ballparks, man, it's like I feel like you're walking 10 minutes to do anything. It's just so big. It's like, all right, all right. We got some good detail from Megan here. Yes, it's a nice stadium. Southern Miss actually hosted the Conference USA tournament there. I know at least once, maybe more, before moving to the Sun Belt. We usually play there at least once a year. So yeah, I mean, there's another easy shoe-in that makes sense. A conference tournament has been held there before, not the Sun Belt. Well, obviously, Conference USA thought it was nice enough to hold a whole tournament there. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they'll look into something like that, and not only because maybe Montgomery's not good or anything like that. I'm not even saying that, but just to change it up, right? Like,
just to move it around a little bit.
In a row. Yeah, exactly. Just get these kids and the fans to get to experience a different area. So I'd be in favor of moving it every 2 to 3 years to kind of keep it fresh and keep people wanting to come back. And then also along the way, as we've seen, there's so many different teams that are right there in the middle. You've got some different fan bases that'll even be able to experience these places as well. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess we kind of covered all the options there, right?
Yeah, feel like it.
Very nice. Well, you guys got anything else? I mean, Artie, I know you were showing us the Texas State softball jersey you had behind you there. Do you want to talk about any Bobcat softball here?
Well, they actually were eliminated today, I think. I don't know who they played, but I just saw a little snippet here before the game. I think they actually lost today. So they had a great year, a great run. Every once in a while, it's nice to see another team besides like Lafayette on top in the round ball, baseball, and softball. So
the yellow ball, right?
Hard working. They had a great slogan. I think it was like show up and show out, and they did. They had a great year. So I mean, when we watch these games, it's something else when you play them. And have to do that back to back, and these kids put together those, be able to perform like that at a high level for a whole season and win consistently in that manner is pretty impressive on especially the collegiate level, on any level, but especially the collegiate level.
Yeah.
And they just did a great year. So kudos to them. I'm happy for them. It sucks to lose and go home, but you can hang your hat that you did a lot.
Oh yeah, sure. Three teams from the Sun Belt made it, and then Texas State, Louisiana, and South Alabama. They all made it to a regional final, which was today.
Right.
Unfortunately, all three had to win 2 games in a row in order to move on. And unfortunately, yet again, I'm saying that word, none of them managed to do so. Texas State went down to Texas A&M. So, I mean, that's a tough matchup. Louisiana went down to Baylor, who actually Louisiana was the host there in that one, and they ranked team, but still lost to Baylor. They did make it to that 3rd game before that happened, but they did ultimately lose to Baylor. And then South Alabama went down twice to Florida. So Florida's the one that came out of that regional again. That's a tough matchup. Florida's routinely very good softball.
Yeah,
team.
always very good softball team. And the A&M ladies are always pretty good too every year. So. Oh
yeah. I mean, those are all power teams with.
I want to say Lafayette was there as well. I'm not sure if they lost. Oh, Blake just said they also lost today. So Lafayette lost as well.
Yeah, that was that Baylor matchup down there in their home park. I was watching the game the second. So Baylor beat them in the first game of the regional. Then both teams continued to win. So they matched up again. Louisiana beat them 13-0 in the second game. And at least when I was watching it, I kind of was playing with my son towards the end, so I don't know if it improved. But towards the end of the game, Baylor only had 2 hits. And I thought, man, they're about to play here another game in like half an hour, right? You got to turn right back around to get that 3rd game in if it's a tie with each team winning a game. So I said, I mean, this could be in the Cajuns' favor, right? I mean, these girls can't hit right now. They can't get a hit off these pitchers, and they just scored 13 runs. But unfortunately, it kind of flipped a little bit in the end, and they couldn't win 2 in a row this afternoon. So unfortunate for them because they could have possibly. I mean, I don't know enough about softball, but if you win your regional, you probably have at least a good chance to host a super. I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
as a ranked team, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you host a regional and win, then unless you got Oklahoma next door, you should be able to host a super.
And Lafayette's always their ladies are always a softball powerhouse, so that's kind of like makes sense for them to get that. I mean, like Dominic was saying, the fans are going to show up there. They have the facilities for it.
Yeah,
et cetera, et cetera.
Oh yeah, and we've got College Football Dog saying, "Do you like big balls? Big yellow balls?" Yes, we love them. Softballs. We love them. Gary says Kessler Federal Park in Biloxi is the home of Milwaukee AA 6067, right across from Beau Rivage Casino. Yeah, I've never been to Biloxi. I've been pretty dang close for work, and we've done some work specifically on some of the casinos down there. Not my company doesn't construct things, but we sell stuff for the people that do. So we've put some steel into the casinos down there on the coastline in Biloxi. So I do know I've been told that Beau Rivage is a great casino to stay at if you're down there. Probably not cheap, but a nice place to stay.
I just remember the old movie Biloxi Blues with the World War II movie with the guy who played Ferris Bueller.
Oh, okay.
Where they had to go to boot camp in Biloxi, Mississippi. That's probably not a place you'd want to go for boot camp. That had to be pretty miserable with the heat and humidity there.
True.
But it's a great movie.
Casino hotels are typically very cheap to stay at. They just want you there.
Well, I guess that's true.
They just want you to spend your money.
But if they know that there's a tournament of baseball being held there, they might jack up the prices, right?
They're gonna hope that you get all lubed up at the baseball game. Your team wins.
Come and spend some money on those slots.
Feel a little lucky, and you come over and drop some coin at the slots on the blackjack table. That's what they want, and make it very palatable to get in the door, and then they just absolutely rape you.
Oh yeah. Artie's gonna like this line. Great line was Africa hot.
Yeah, that's from the movie.
I gotta get up. Artie's blowing me away with the movie references. I gotta catch up on some of the classics. My dad did a pretty good job of getting me involved with old school movies, but only to some extent. He put me on Animal House and some of the classics that were before my time. But yeah, I mean, I say Animal House to some of my friends now, and they have no idea what I'm referencing. And I'm like, how do you not know that movie? So
I know. So I mean, my father loved westerns, old westerns. So I mean, Have Gun Will Travel. I mean, all of them. I still watch some of them. Now that I get older, I'm like, okay, this is better than some of the stuff on MILF Manor or some stupid stuff on TV.
Oh yeah.
I think I'm probably like y'all. Like most people probably don't even have cable anymore. With your smart TV, it's pretty convenient. You can just watch whatever you like.
That's a good point.
I'm always watching Sun Belt Syndicate.
Yes. Well, we know you are. We know that's not a lie because we see you.
Oh, Neil Simon went to basic training in Biloxi. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I did not know that. Very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, you're gonna have to give us a master class on like a list of stuff we need to watch, a checklist.
Yeah, the classics.
We'll have some homework. You know what we should do during the off season? We'll have to put this together in the background. We got to do like a classic baseball movies thing. We'll just have a whole episode dedicated. Again, once this is all over and we could just enjoy the off season, we'll have
Sometimes I'm surprised there's a Denzel movie called Man on Fire in Iraq. All these movies were bootleg. They sold them over there bootleg. And the ending of the movie, you can still people get up and walk through the screen over there. But it'd be so I'm watching the ending of the movie and it just stopped on the bridge of the scene at the end of the movie, and I was like, wow, that's a unique ending. I guess they just leave it up for you to decide. And I came back to the States and I watched it again, and no, they just stopped filming the rest of the movie. I actually figured out there's a whole other part to the end of it. So I get surprised every once in a while with some of the movies too. But yeah, nothing like an Iraqi bootleg movie.
Oh man, yeah, that's crazy.
I didn't even know people still did that with the movie, like a Seinfeld episode where the guy put the video camera in the movie theater.
Yes, and what is that? Mystery Theater 3000 or something on Sci-Fi.
Sci-Fi.
Oh my gosh, that was great.
Nowadays, you just bootleg the stream of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's just like a file on a thumbnail that someone stole from somewhere and just they didn't have to upload it. That's probably like movie theaters, not theaters. What am I talking about? What everything is in LA? Movie companies. They're probably like
studios, yeah.
Studios, that's the word I'm thinking of. Movie studios are probably like disappointed that it's all digital now and it can be stolen so easily. Like back days when you had the reel, like you can't just walk out of there with some big reel to steal the movie.
I'm showing my age here, but when I was a kid, like things stayed in the movie theater for like a month or two. Now it's like maybe a week and they're already like out on TV. I don't know if you guys don't have to remember dollar theaters. They play like the regular theater, then they go to the dollar. I've never seen a dollar theater in my life in years.
We got one here in town. It's not $1 anymore due to inflation. It's like $4.
Yeah, it's the $3.
You can watch the movies that just got out of the big theater for $4 on a matinee. But
when I was a kid, we used to go to the drive-in theater. So I think hardly any of those are there. I think they made a little bit of comeback during COVID, but
yes,
I doubt they lasted long.
Yeah,
they're not the best place to actually watch a movie.
Yeah, Gary said 4 new releases on one DVD for $10. Yeah, those were the days too. Now it's like Blu-rays that are $40. I mean, I don't even understand why they're trying to do that. Pricing out the physical copy.
I don't even have a DVD player. I don't own one. If I want to watch a movie, it's on Netflix or Amazon Video or whatever you want.
Yeah, that's a good point. I only own one because I have an Xbox and an old PlayStation that both play Blu-rays. But yeah, I mean, a standalone Blu-ray player, no, I don't have one of those. It's just because it's in the system. So,
although people are starting to buy more physical media now because they're doing away with like some classic Disney shows you just can't they just don't show them anymore. So
true.
A lot of people the way you can find some of these old things are on old VHSs and old DVDs and stuff. So believe it or not, people are starting to pick those up.
Yeah, I mean the prices
of a physical copy of it.
Yeah, this prices of the streaming service isn't helping either. I feel like everyone's like, cut the cord. It's going to be better. We're going to be able to pick and choose what we want. But now, if you want to watch all your favorite shows, you got to have like 5 different streaming services just to catch them. it's become more expensive than cable. It just doesn't even make sense anymore. So
no, I will say yes, that's true. But I do like the ESPN app. I will say that it is pretty neat that you can log on and watch any game you want from any conference, any team. That's pretty cool, and it's really helped the Sun Belt a lot. I think being able to do that in the fan bases, and now before you couldn't do that. You couldn't. It was very rare to find a Sun Belt game or on TV or something. Now you can watch all the time. It's fantastic.
If I was a single man, the only thing I would need to exist would be the ESPN app. That's it.
I know for a long time people said stuff like, I'm not paying extra for ESPN. I already pay cable and it's included. And I'm like I'm talking to people in the triangle who are fans of big teams, and I'm like, that's fine for you. But for me, I want to be able to watch my team all the time, no matter home or away. And like you said, Artie, and Marv, it's the only thing I would need. I mean, I could not have season tickets and see all my favorite team's games. It's ridiculous. I mean, and if it's not on there, it's because it's got elevated to NFL Network or another platform that's really good. So it's like, man, I'm loving it. I mean, people can hate on it, but it's also one of the cheapest streaming services. I think they've gone up a little bit in price, and I wish they would stop adding some things. They're adding European leagues of figure skating. It's all right, I don't need all that stuff. I just give me this stuff in the States.
You don't
not to mention not to mention too, it helps the kids in the media departments. They get to go out and get real experience with cameras and running a show, and that's what they're going to college for. So is it as slick as with the Sky Boom cameras and all that stuff? No, but still, it's for what it used to be, it's incredible. You said, just being able to log on and watch basketball, football, baseball, softball, even soccer. But some people don't talk. I know Dominic's into soccer. The Sun Belt Soccer Conference probably actually the best conference in the country as far as soccer goes.
Yeah. You got Marshall in there, who's literally the number one in the country earlier this year.
And a few SEC teams are in our in for soccer because it's that good.
Yeah, Kentucky and West Virginia. So you're right. I mean, a hell of a soccer conference. Which is weird. Also, is it weird to anybody else? The SEC, with all the money, all the facilities they have, soccer being what you would think about as being one of the cheapest sports because it doesn't really involve that much equipment, and the SEC doesn't offer it for their. I'm just blown away by that.
Doesn't surprise me. Bring in money. That's what they're interested in.
True.
Marv, I was going to bring up I saw a little video of some students walking out of it was at Duke, and I was like, Duke, and they have a graduation on the football field, not in a stadium or anywhere conditioned. It's that's kind of subpar for a private university. You think you wouldn't have a graduation out on a open 100-degree football field. Even Texas State does it in cycles in the Strahan Arena.
Don't get us started on subpar facilities at Duke.
It really is for a school of their magnitude. You just in your mind, you think Duke they're going to spend money on stuff.
Their baseball field. All right, the turf is nice. Their baseball stadium. I've been to nicer high school baseball stadiums. It's a dome, and they're a top 15 program. All the money in the world, and their baseball stadium. I think we were talking last time. If they can't host a super, can they? Because how crappy their stadium is?
Yeah, I don't think they can host a regional. What's funny is that you're saying that right now while we're still on, because when I was at the Durham Bulls game, there was ACC officials, and the reason it was not hard to find is their hats said ACC here, and there was somebody from the Durham Bulls walking around 3, 4, 5 people showing them different. And I'm thinking that they were getting prepped for if Duke hosts. They have to play there at the Durham Bulls Athletic Park because they cannot play at home. But
if the Bulls were scheduled to be home that weekend, Major League Baseball is not going to say, "Hey, next highest level to the show, you got to move the series so that play here." Not happening.
Well, and I did check. They're the weekend that they would host the regional, right, coming up. They would be away, so it would work out. And I think that's why the ACC officials were likely there. It's possible that that's not what it was for. It's maybe ACC is going to host the conference tournament in Durham next year. Because they have done that before. The ACC has hosted the whole conference tournament in this location, so it's not impossible that they're looking ahead to next year, and it has nothing to do with Duke. But my thought process was it had to do with Duke, and they're coming to make sure everything's up to snuff and, they've got what they need. And they wanted to see it being done as a game was going on, I guess. I don't know.
And that's one good thing about the Sun Belt is, even including Georgia State now, they're going to get a stadium, but the schools have invested in their facilities. So
could app host. If we
I don't know
that good, I don't know if our stadium's newer. I just don't know if it's big enough.
I don't think it's big enough if I had to guess. And I honestly don't know if it would make sense for them to ever expand in hopes of that, because let's be honest, like App would be hosting like once every blue moon.
I'm about to say we'd have to have 5+ years of major success for them to even consider doing that.
And honestly, I bet anything, if they were to do it, they would just try and go down to Hickory.
Yeah, they go to the Crawdad Stadium. Yeah,
which they would have the same problem possibly, like they can't use it, but I would assume that they would try to do that, and then maybe they could go to Winston if Hickory doesn't work out. You know what I mean? They'd have other things where if they ever got to that point, they would just host in a stadium that's set up and good to go.
It would just suck for the kids that if you're successful enough to host, that you couldn't on your home stadium.
Yeah.
That's App or Duke, and shame on Duke for having all that money and not investing in that. They got a great program down there. Yeah, I'm gonna get off my soapbox.
Well, no, but and it makes sense. It's not necessarily just them too. You're talking about multiple teams, like Georgia State is in that same realm. Not that they have endless amount of money like Duke, but you're talking about like some of the stuff that they could fix up and make better seems to be, it wouldn't cost that much, right? Like, Marv and I were there. I mean, they had portage. They didn't even have bathrooms. They had no running water of any.
Yeah, you were saying even the paint and stuff wasn't like, nice and things like that. So
they didn't have concession stands. Like you couldn't get.
Oh man, not even people walking around with beverages.
I mean, they had like a cart that had like Pepsis. I don't think you could get alcohol there, but like there wasn't hot dogs and pizza,
hot dogs or
things like
burgers or nothing.
And like porta potties, and I don't know. It was just old and dingy, and it was one of those things where you get there and you look around and you're like, how is this even? How is this
feasible? Yeah, possible.
Yeah, because I've been to their football stadium and it's old and concrete, but like the concession stands are pretty nice. They got like new signage, bright. It's all lit up very well. You walk up, there's lots of options. There's obviously plenty of bathrooms. Then you go into the cathedral of the basketball arena, and it's old, it's small, but the attached to it, if you want to go in the pregame, and I'm pretty sure this is open to anybody. You can walk in where they don't serve alcohol within the basketball arena, but they serve it in the concession area that's beside it, which has got like the little Hall of Fame and everything. I mean, that's one of the nicest athletic rooms I've ever been in. But then you walk literally right up from there to the baseball field, and it looks like no one's touched it since the 70s, except for the turf field that's kind of brand new. And it's just...
I get the reason they keep Cameron the way it is, like the nostalgia and like all the history there. Zero excuse for the baseball facility.
Yeah.
And that's enough about Duke.
Yeah, that's true. Gotten off on a tangent.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's kind of the cool part about what we do and what we're a part of, is that we don't have any schools that are outliers like that, right? We don't have a single private institution. So we don't have one school that's going to be unfairly ahead of everyone else as far as the money advantage is concerned. I mean, that happens, but that's more of a natural thing, right? We have 14 public institutions that are all roughly similar. I mean, there's nothing that's, sticking out like a sore thumb. I mean, I think Georgia State may have the largest population of students undergrad wise.
Then we discussed it. A lot of that's commuter and online.
Right. So when you talk about students living on campus, they're probably still very similar to the rest of the league. I think that's kind of what makes this so much fun. Like, there's not somebody in this conference that like everybody loves to hate. Like if Liberty were to come in, I think everybody would love to hate Liberty. Or I don't know. Tulane's a private institution too, right? Like, if not that they would ever leave American, but if they were to come in, it's just like, you have all this money, you have all this ability, and you're coming in here. Like, I just think everyone would hate something like that. So I like the fact that we have 14 teams, 14 fan bases that are all kind of roughly, blue collar, hardworking people in the background, right? So that's what makes all this so much fun.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, after we got off all of our soapboxes, there. That was a good time. So yeah, we do need to put together a little fun classic baseball movie episode or something. We'll have to talk about that. Obviously, again, once we get out of baseball regular season and postseason here now, but yeah, we'll have to put together something else too, because this tournament is going pretty much every day up until this weekend. I don't foresee us having another episode on like a Wednesday like we normally do, because there'll be baseball to watch and everyone will be tuning into that instead of listening to us talk. But we will definitely wrap up everything after the weekend, and we'll be back at you guys next week for sure. For Artie, Marv, Seth, and myself, thank you guys very much for tuning in. Thanks to College Football Dogs, part of Dog TV. And again, W Energy down below, SB Syndicate at checkout to get yourselves a little 10% discount on the way out. And we will see you guys next time.
See ya.